Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lyds, and we're back for some more Thronebreaker, and we just came off of our first battle directly against Nilfgaard, and it was tough. It was demoralizing. They beat us the first time, but we just barely snuck by with the win on the second attempt. So, what that means for today is I think we're either looking to upgrade our deck, perhaps considerably, very soon, or possibly, if we look at our map here, we could consider trying to get into some puzzles if we happen to find any, although to tell you the truth, we are not really seeing much in the way of puzzles at the moment, in order to, well, avoid having to upgrade our deck for a little bit, give us a little bit more time to accumulate a few more resources, and then make it so that when we do choose to upgrade our deck, we have more of a way to do that. Otherwise, we're looking at this battle down here, which also looked to be some kind of Nilfgaardian camp, which, I mean, at the time, we had said, let's save this one for later, thinking that this might be kind of difficult, and instead went for this one, which turned out to actually be another Nilfgaardian battle, and one that was rather tough, and for the main quest, I think, kind of, sort of. So, it may be that this one is similar, if not possibly a little bit easier. I mean, that'd be great. Might just be that, for whatever reason, the deck that our opponent was using here was a good matchup against us. But either way, I suppose we're gonna have to make up our mind here as whether we go further south and take on that Nilfgaardian battle, or we venture further northward first, if we've already chatted with this woman. I think we do, at the very least, take a look around a little bit and see if there's anything else around here that we can do. We can't get out this way, can we? We cannot. Because, yeah, the prospect of doing maybe a puzzle or two, or going over to that battle, does seem intriguing to me. It's given us a little bit more time to power up.
What the devil is going on?
What?
Where are our reinforcements? Why does Willem not ride out to face the foe, relieve besieged towns?
I can't say, Your Grace. We haven't had a single scroll from the Prince.
Gods be damned. I've the impression I'm alone in fighting the Blackclads.
And that is our son, is it not? Also, hold on. That's the other side of the river. Huh? Oh, I thought that was over here. I was like, surely we would have seen that at some point if it was in this area. But no, it's across this bridge here, and it is a battle. So it could also be rather challenging. I don't know. It does seem like perhaps after fighting Gascon, that things may just continue to get a little bit more difficult here. We've got some people here, and who knows what this is. Burning building, of course. Your Majesty! There are people inside, undoubtedly locked themselves in to keep safe from the Nilfgaardians. The devils have set it alight. We must do something. The roof is beginning to give way. Okay, so we can sacrifice some troops, improve our morale, and gain a card scrap, or we can say, no thanks, we're on the verge of collapse already. Or it's on the verge of collapse already, maybe our unit is as well. The risk is too great. Let's see, what is our morale right now? It's normal. But if we are going to go into a battle, then that would be helpful to be on high morale, and that card scrap does sound enticing as well. We've been starting to accumulate a fair bit of these recruits. We haven't really spent much of them yet, although that is the resource that's going to be perhaps most relevant if we are looking to upgrade our deck soon. I think we go for it. Oh, interesting. That is a fraction of a card that we've not yet started to build toward. Let's see. Hold on. In a foreign tongue, you say? Scoia'tael, maybe? I was kind of hoping... Oh, this is fast travel, I was going to say. For some reason, I was thinking that was a notice board, and I was hoping we might find a few more question marks so we could get a better sense as to what to expect in this area up here. But it does seem as if there isn't too much here right now. And besides maybe some opportunity to loot some stuff. I suppose let's chat with these people. But it may mean that we are more or less feeling that we need to go down south to fight those Nilfgaardians, because otherwise we may need to venture quite a bit further in this direction, and then I suppose there's a non-zero chance we might not be able to double back. That may not be an issue, but just in case. Let's chat with these guys first.
Your Majesty, what of Prince Willem?
Good question.
Why's he not come to relieve us?
Very good question.
We'd had omens, oddities that foretold this morning. In the milk, stillborn foals, trees withered of a sudden, and I lost my tooth and sweet bone.
Okay, anything else?
Keep a keen watch, heard the thunder of hooves from the high road. Cries ferocious in a foreign tongue.
Okay, I think that's all we're going to hear from them. Seems like this is just a burning area where we can grab a few more resources. But nothing else. This also gives me the impression of a place where a hidden golden chest might theoretically be. But of course we don't have any maps at the moment to inform us of such a hidden chest. Alright, we are on high morale. So you know, if there were a time to go do that battle, then perhaps it is now. I think we go for it. Let's see, I think we looted that stuff there, yeah. And, oh, missed this. Don't mind if I do. So my hope is that this battle is just maybe a little bit easier, because I suppose in some ways it's almost like you would more likely have done this battle down here first and then the battle in that castle where we just did it. So maybe, you know, it ramps up a little bit more in difficulty in that sense. And then that, oh, well, that gives us high morale, and we probably should have saved that. I just started clicking on it. I was like, oh, this is more loot, right? No, but we were already at high morale. We'll lose our high morale after finding these guys. We'll be back to normal, and then it would have been nice to use this to get back up. But alas, it did not occur to me until I'd already done it. What is this place? Hold on. Huh? It's the back of the estate that we were at before? Interesting. This is lootable, and the kind of loot that we do want to actually pick up. Resources, not just morale that we already have. I mean, it looks nice. Yes, but... hold on. Actually, a fairly big area, as it turns out. Does look much better on this side, of course. Take a few steps more in that direction, and you see all the burning rubble again. It's not lootable, is it? I don't believe so. Let's head down south. It looks like there's a little bit of an opening here. We've been in this direction? Perhaps not. This is a surprisingly big area. Oh, look at this. I imagine we probably did see this before, this golden chest, but we didn't know how to get to it, so here it is. And it's a Strays Bomber. Congratulations, you discovered a card that can be used in Gwent multiplayer. Ah, okay. Gotcha. That's right, most of these chests we've encountered have been for rewards that apply in the multiplayer game. For a second there, I was thinking that was going to be something we put in our own deck for Thronebreaker. We get in here. It looks like that might all be walled off. I think, unless we can get through that, but I don't think we can. Yeah, okay. Well, we picked up a golden chest, so we might have otherwise just sped right past. So, glad we did take the time to head over in this direction. And now, I think, we'll head over to take on those Nilfgaardians. And see, is there anything we'd like to do to tweak our deck here? And we have picked up a little bit more in the way of resources here. Not sure that's enough to be any sort of significant difference. Hold on. Oh, for a second I thought we could keep on going down here. And potentially pick up even more stuff. But let's take a quick look at either... it's probably our command set that'll be most relevant. So that's where we actually get the cards themselves. One thing I was asking myself, though, thinking to myself, was... we were saying how... yeah, there are these cartographer's table upgrades over here that increase our movement speed. I was saying how, personally, I don't feel like I would need to invest in that. That's a lot of resources for just convenience sake, and I'd rather commit those directly to improving the quality of our deck or other things that help us more directly in the game. But, of course, all these things down here are currently locked, and I don't know how those actually become unlocked later on. Is it just that we need to get further along in the campaign before they will magically unveil themselves to us? Or is it that we actually need to take both of these, and only then do these subsequent upgrades become available? I didn't initially think that would be the case, because of course this looks like it's down a different path. You know, this is not connected to this stuff down here, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, are we going to be able to get this stuff soon? Is that going to be something we're going to be waiting a long time for? I'm not sure. And then we have... Oh, hold on. Oh, we have the command tent. We don't have the watchtower. Use scouts to mark the location of treasure and resources on your regional map. This was another thing. Similar to the cartographer's table that I was thinking, I mean, maybe a little bit more useful, or a little bit more... Yeah, a little bit less just pure convenience, because you could certainly make the case that there might be some resources that you would just miss. You wouldn't realize are there. Treasure you just wouldn't realize were there. Like the golden chest that we nearly walked past just a moment ago. You know, that's the kind of thing where, alright, if this actually means that you end up picking up resources that you might have otherwise missed, then that does eventually, potentially, pay for itself, or at least partially pay for itself, and the rest of it you say, okay, you know, we'll pay a small convenience fee, and this is also, I think, less expensive than the movement speed is. Certainly far less expensive than the second one is, whereas this is like, you know, I don't think there's ever going to be a situation in which having additional speed is going to affect whether we get resources or win or lose in a certain encounter. That just seems like I mean, unless there's like some chase that happens at some point, but I kind of doubt that. So I think for that reason, if anything, this would be the place where we would be looking to make any upgrades. But remind me, in terms of how we upgrade this, I mean, is that in this area here, or do we actually only have the opportunity to upgrade it at the workshop? Because although we can create other cards, at the end of the day, if we're already at our cap here, 125 out of 125, then in theory, there's not too much we can do to improve it. I mean, we can, of course, swap some things around here and there, yes. But, you know, we're ultimately just going to be ending up swapping out some bigger cards for, or basically redistributing our allocation here, and may not make a huge difference. So that's part of my hesitation, and in addition to just wondering if later on we might, of course, get access to different cards that we would rather invest in that are, you know, more long-term viable. Let's see, this Forager. This is a recent addition. Restraint, so cannot target bosses, but when we play it, destroy the unit to the right and boost self by its power. If it's an artifact, boost self by its current power instead. Huh. That's a strange one. So that, I mean, it costs very little. And it feels very niche. But I suppose I could imagine a situation in which, for some reason, you want to have the highest unit out there, in which case, maybe doing that to make this Forager really big could be worth doing. Or if for some reason, the unit that you're going to end up destroying is one that your opponent is about to find a way to destroy, and so you might as well do the destruction, but still keep the points by just reallocating them into the Forager instead. So I don't know. Kind of interesting. Of course, we know about the War Wagon. We already have some of those in our deck. So I'd like to, ideally, not have to upgrade just yet, but of course, heading into this fight with the Nilfgaardians, that could prove to be quite tricky without changing up our deck at all, but I suppose we'll give it an attempt here. So here goes nothing. Alright, Nilfgaardians, bring it on. Foraging units followed in the wake of the Nilfgaardian army's core force, emptying granaries, stealing horses, and looting valuables. While fracturing and scattering these units was not vital to Meve's effort to repel the invaders, she had no intention of allowing them to strip her realm bare. So yeah, I think that means that basically this is an optional, and in this case standard, battle. So maybe that means it's a little more straightforward. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what we have in store here. Okay, so, and with it being a standard battle, that of course means we're just looking to maximize our pointage. And, you know, if we were to switch around our deck, I think that Rivia and Pikeman is probably one of the first cards that I would take out. Because it plays for 8 points, which is just not a lot since we only have one more in our deck right now. I suppose, you know, it does get better if you go more all in and have numerous of them. But is it worth doing that? I'm not sure. I mean, normally you would get quote-unquote thinning from it to help it be more more likely for you to get the cards that you want in round 1, round 2, round 3. But that's one thing in Gwent multiplayer where you only can redraw 3 cards at most, whereas oftentimes just 2. Whereas in Thronebreaker, when you can redraw 6, if you want to get a card, you have a pretty decent chance of getting it, or at least a much better chance of getting it. So it just doesn't feel like that's quite as necessary in Thronebreaker as it is in multiplayer, and therefore the Rivian Pikeman and cards like it might not be quite as good. So I think we do dump that. And the Wagenberg is, of course, very good. So I do like that. We have the cards to complement it. Yeah, I think Reynard can help a lot with that. I think the previous Nilfgaardians that we fought, they had a lot of damage, and so they kept on hitting the Wagenberg and making it so that we couldn't really use its order ability, or if we did, it was going to only deal 1 damage. So that may be an issue. We have 2 of them, so it might be hard for them to take out both of them, or remove that armor on both of them, and to get the order back from Reynard on both of them is certainly enticing. The other thing is that now that we've switched our weapon has a much longer cooldown, and for that reason I think that the Lyrian Scytheman is much weaker now than it was when we were using our initial weapon, which I think had, you know, it came off cooldown maybe twice as quickly. So then Loyal is just not going to trigger as much, and therefore I think we probably dump you and try to get something other than a Scytheman here. Regiment Drummer is another one that has an order, so it does work well with Reynard. And what do we think of these field medics? Probably good in round 2 or 3, right? I suppose we could probably keep them. And then our decoy, use that to play Reynard twice, and I think that could be very good. So we have a lot of cards with strong order abilities. And then Lyrian Horn, that one I'm a little more uncertain about. I mean, it's just worth a fair number of points if we wait to play it until once we already have a lot of units out there and our opponent has a lot of units out there. But I don't know, I just vaguely remember that last time we tried using it and it was not as good as we might have thought it would have been. So I guess we'll roll with it here, but I'm somewhat skeptical.
101, 102, 103.
Okay, so let's see what we have here. They played a recruit after 2 allies appear, boost self by 6, and gain resilience. So resilience allows the card to stay on the board at the end of the round, rather than going straight into their graveyard. And if it has any boosts, then it loses those boosts, but it basically means they have some carryover. And that usually is quite strong, or at least in multiplayer it's quite strong. This might be the first time we're seeing it in Thronebreaker, though. So that would certainly mean we'd like to get rid of this card. Let's see what their leader ability is. So, damage an enemy by the number of your allied units. Oh, wow. Wow. So the more units they have, the more powerful that becomes, and that could become more or less a just automatic delete one of our units, and so I do not like that. I think that means we do want to try to get pretty aggressive with our damage and removal. So our leader ability, damage an enemy unit, and all units with the same amount of power by 4. Obviously, there's only 1 unit out here with 4 power right now, but that would get it down just a 2. And then if we were to get enough damage to destroy it immediately. And we do have... Didn't we have an Arbalest? We do. But we would have to move our banner and then play the Arbalest in the melee row in order for it to be in range. And I suppose we can do that since especially Reynard will give the order back. Does it work for... We're technically not a unit, so actually I don't think it works. This is something we'd ideally be able to use to set up the Wagenberg for a little bit more damage as well. But this might be worth going all out to get rid of this recruit, because otherwise it could become a bit of a problem if we let it stick around. So I think we do. Well, actually, tell you what. Hold on. Damage random enemy nearest to self by 2 when we use our leader ability. So if we play you in this row, then what? That gets you down to a 4 with 1 armor. Leader ability gets you down to a 1, but then the damage from Lyria and Rivia will finish you off. Yeah, I think the loyal ability actually means that even without moving our banner, we should still be fine here. So then we do this. And yeah, Lyria and Rivia with loyal ability finishes it off. Okay, nice. That way we get to save this. Okay, then Magni Division. After 1 turn, on turn start, summon a copy of this unit from your deck. Okay, so that's another card that we definitely want to get rid of. I'm sensing a theme here. It does seem like they have a lot of units that the longer they stay out there, the stronger they become, and they're going to just try to flood their side of the playing field with a bunch of units that will make their leader ability become extremely powerful. So I like that we did manage to get rid of the first unit, but I think now might be time to play the Wagenburg. And won't be able to deal any damage with it immediately, and so that does mean this will manage to get out the next one. Oh, and tell you what. That does mean that this next one, can they basically just make this an infinite combo where, yeah, this one will play another one at the end of their next turn, and so on and so forth. I mean, who knows how many they actually have in their deck. Then they did a bunch of stuff here with the Alba Spearman. This also has resilience, just plain and simple resilience, not conditional resilience. Only play a random unit from your deck and boost it by 2. And did you not? Yeah, you got an Alba Spearman that then gave you another Alba Spearman. And then the Imperial Enforcers, every turn on turn start, boost adjacent units by 1 if this unit has armor. Okay. Yeah. This is getting a little tricky here. They are absolutely loading up on a ton of units. So, I'm thinking... Ooh. My question is... How much do we save for future rounds? How much do we do in this round? Because they're going to be getting a lot of carrier from all this resilience and what's not. So that does give them a lot of long-term potential. Makes me a little concerned. Could go with the Wagenburg, which would be the best way to just load up on damage in round 1, but then are we going to have enough remaining in round 2 and or 3 to still get the job done, finish this match? If we play both our Wagenburgs here? That's questionable. But I feel like it might pay off here. If we can start removing a bunch of these guys and then they suddenly don't have all that resilience, then that could become quite good. Okay. And so I'm thinking with our leader ability, we're probably going to use it on 5 power units here. We still need to wait 1 more turn before that can happen. I mean, it could be 6. This is going to continue to boost units either side of it by 1, so that's going to become a 7. That'll also be a 5, so they'll have 3 5s. That's probably still the answer then. So I think now what we do, probably go War Wagon and Range Row in order to set up the light infantry to move in. No, actually, we go War Wagon Melee Row, because then the Wagenburg will immediately get the additional armor and therefore damage from the War Wagon. Then afterward we'll move them out and we'll use Reynard to get them back in. Okay. I think that's the plan in that case.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
That means we have 4 damage for you, 3 damage for you. That's a lot. Could increase that further if we move in the Lyrian banner, which I think we will want to do sometime, potentially soon, at that. Huh. If we do that, then we'd be at 5 and 4. We'd have 9 damage on a row, and that is enough to remove everything but you, right? I think so. And it would remove your armor, which means you'd no longer be able to use your ability. So that's really tempting. Heck, we might want to go that route. And that might even be the last thing that we want to do in this round, because that is a pretty strong play, I think. But if we want to go further, then of course Reynard becomes a very strong option. But I think we go for this. That gets rid of all but you, and now we have a pretty big lead here, and what was once their big advantage Oh, they already passed. I didn't even realize that. That is important, and just did not even register if that was the case. But, well, it was certainly enough to win round 1 there. Alright, let me, in that case, reassess from a card standpoint. Let's see, they, can we see how many that normally it would say, or at least in multiplayer says, you have 7 out of 10 cards, 8 out of 10 cards, so on and so forth. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're still at your maximum number of cards, whereas we are not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, that would usually mean what you'd like to do is play just 1 or 2 cards, possibly even just pass immediately, because we have card disadvantage here in this round, but our opponent, of course, needs to play at least 1 card in this round if they want to not immediately lose to us. So we can force us to be back on even terms in round 3 that way, because we'll both end up drawing 3 cards going into that round. So let's just take a look at what our deck is here. What do we still have left? Caldwell is the best card that we have remaining, it looks like. And we do have these field medics to bring something back from our graveyard, and it is random, but we probably would prefer for it to be a Wagenberg. That would be pretty great if we could make that happen. A way of forcing the issue there, though, unfortunately. So, if we are keeping this round short, then what would we like to use as our throwaway cards? I mean, you can try to win in round 2 if you have 1 fewer card than your opponent. It is, of course, a disadvantage. But what you can do is, since, again, your opponent does have to win the round, otherwise they lose the match, you can kind of play a little bit here and there, not commit too hard, and then your opponent just has to keep on playing, because if they pass, then you can, you know, if they pass early, you can keep on playing more cards and just go, oh, thanks, okay, now we'll take the win. We do, of course, still have the Lyrian Horn, though, and that does benefit most from when they have a lot of cards out there. We have a lot of cards out there, so that means we probably want to deliberately keep either round 2 the full length, or keep round 2 very short and make round 3 the full length. Otherwise, this Lyrian Horn, if we sort of split a little bit and have a short-ish round 2, a short-ish round 3, then Lyrian Horn doesn't really have enough units out there to become the factor that we're looking for it to become. I'm thinking we still get rid of a Scytheman here, though. And an Arbalest, I mean, we saw they have some pretty nasty cards that, if they do stay on the playing field, become a pretty big problem, so Arbalest could potentially help us deal with that. Maybe we even dump another Scytheman here and get another Scytheman back. Okay, so now that begs the question, where does that leave us? If we are to play a throwaway card, I think it probably would be the Scytheman. Of course, our leader ability is off cooldown, though there's nothing for us to target here because they don't have any units out there. So I think what we do is we play the Scytheman, and that may be the only card that we play in this round. It forces our opponent to at least play 1 card that is worth more than the Scytheman. The one issue with making round 2 last any sort of amount of time is that we did see they have some cards that have resilience, and so if they can just spend a bunch of time playing a bunch of cards that have resilience, then suddenly they're going to have a bunch of carryover of value, and we will not be able to match, and that could start to become a factor. Like that. That's 1 resilience, and that'll boost adjacent units. Okay. So, that begs the question, do we want to keep on playing here in round 2? Or do we deliberately keep it very short in round 2 and make round 3 long so that they don't continue to load up on more resilience cards? I mean, 1 power is not going to be a huge factor in all likelihood, but if they continue to do so, get more resilience out there, then it could be, in fact, enough so that it could become more or less the equivalent of them having 1, 2, possibly even 3 card advantage on us, and that would be a big problem. So I think we do maybe pass here, and that way both of us will draw back up to 10 cards apiece for round 3. So it is a deliberate tactical repositioning. And they are continuing to play a little bit more here. They are getting a little bit more resilience. I'm curious what they opt to do here. How aggressively do they go? No, now they pass. Okay, that does make sense. They don't continue to just play unnecessary amount of cards. But there's the resilience, so that's what it means. They basically keep those two Alba Spearmen out there. Oh, interesting. Okay. So when you draw an extra card, you actually just automatically discard it. That is not the way it works in multiplayer. Interesting. In multiplayer, you would see the quote-unquote mulligan phase, much like we had at the beginning of round 1 and round 2, where you can choose which cards you want to swap out, which ones you want to keep. But, no, it looks at least as if it just outright banished, or, I don't know if it banished, or, discarded that card, but, okay. I'm thinking what we want here. Okay, now, the resilience here for the recruit is not relevant anymore. Resilience is meaningless in round 3. So, fortunately, that, maybe that did work well. Going aggressively in round 1, getting rid of all the resilience, keeping round 2 short so that they had very little resilience, and now round 3 it's not a factor anymore. It does seem like that's the overarching theme of their deck. I mean, you will still get the 6 boost, which is unfortunate. But, I think we would like to go with a Regiment Drummer and see if we can get a Wagenberg out here, because of course the earlier we get that out here, the better. That way it can continue to load up on the armor and increase the damage, whereas if we play that late, then less time to get the armor, less damage. And we also have Reynard, which would be great if we had the Wagenbergs out there to power them up with him. More or less doubles their effectiveness. Oh, we did get Count Caldwell. That's big. He snuck in there. All distracted by that card seemingly getting destroyed. Let's see. That means we want to have nice cards next to each other, and cards that we have additional copies of in our deck. That could be an Arbalist. That could be... what else? Do we have another Drummer in there? We do. Okay. So I think it's Drummer plus Arbalist in that case. Let's go Drummer now.
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
And this, oh, well, we could have removed this card if we had gone with the Arbalist first and then used our leader ability and targeted this recruit. I probably would actually like to wait in that case to use our leader ability until we do have a loyal unit out there. Probably this Arbalist before we do this. Try to take you out. So that is probably it. We may still have time to get rid of it.
Again? Oh, gods.
But of course now they have a second one. Okay, so I think what we do here is let's go Regiment Drummer first, just to see what this is. It is an Arbalist, okay. So... oh, right, this is... oh, Regiment Drummer. I meant to do the other turn. I actually was thinking Field Medic, but I played Regiment Drummer. Okay, I mean, I suppose that works. Technically is, again, probably not the order we would have preferred. But I think, oh, actually, this is less than ideal for our leader ability. I mean, we could destroy this one, I suppose. But we're not going to be able to get these to line up perfectly. Have them on the same amount of power and remove them both simultaneously. Although, I'll tell you what, if we do this...
give me a target.
And this is enough to destroy you. And then with our leader ability, that would mean we'd get... if we targeted this recruit, I think we can still take them both out, right? I think either way, it still works. Do this, and then these guys will deal 4 damage to the closest unit. That'll be you. That'll lower you down to a 2. And then, of course, our leader ability itself deals 4 damage, so that's definitely enough. Yeah, enough so that we can actually still damage one of the Alba Pikemen as well. Alright, I'm glad we did manage to get rid of those recruits before they could become too much of a problem. Okay, so this is going to start summoning additional copies if we don't immediately get rid of it. And that's a little tricky. Oh, I'd like to have gone Field Medic earlier. I think we just let this do its thing for now, and, you know, would be great to shut it off. I mean, can we? Can we, though? If we really wanted to? if we went, was it Caldwell we were saying was going to be Arbalist plus Regiment Drummer? Yeah, I think so. If we do that, then we'd have what? Caldwell would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th unit. The Arbalist would be a 6th unit. We don't actually know what order they're going to get played in. I think it's random between, you know, if we play Caldwell, you know, either here or here. We would prefer for it to be Regiment Drummer first, play that in the melee row, and then Lyria and Arbalist after that. So there's one more unit in here, and that would give us just enough damage to destroy the Magni Division in that case. But again, I'm not sure we can guarantee that. In which case, I think maybe we just play it a little more slowly here and go for what I had meant to do.
Tell me you jest.
And do this. It is a Wagenberg. Okay, so that does hurt, because this is, yes, the card I wanted, but it is not the time in which I wanted it to appear. I meant to do that first, rather than the Regiment Drummer. So in that case, let's see. Oh, did you not? Maybe it just didn't have any other units, any other copies of this in its deck. They did do a little bit of that in round 1, so I guess maybe we got off easy there. Damage an enemy by 2 whenever an ally appears, gain 1 charge. That now becomes, I think, our highest priority card to remove. So, and we could go with another field medic here, I suppose. Or, I think, War Wagon is kind of ideal. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards in this row. War Wagon gives us 3 more, and the maximum number of cards in a row is 9. So that means if we play War Wagon in the melee row now, our melee row will get full. So we might want to do that now, otherwise this is not going to work so well. We're not going to be able to set up use War Wagon to set it up, and that means we wouldn't have room to play Count Caldwell. However, we can then on our next turn move the light infantry out of there, play Caldwell in between these two, and still manage to get that combo. So I think that's ideal.
You can
We
try
go
to
this route.
fall, but you won't.
And that gives us 3 damage on the Wagenberg. Do we want to leave it at that? Or do we wait a little while longer? I think we might wait a little while longer. Let's see if we can do it on our next turn. And our opponent is apparently pondering their options. There we go. Okay. Gather leader ability and... Okay, well, they were very smart and targeted the Wagenberg. I suppose should have paid a little bit more attention to whether that was on cooldown or not. I mean, it definitely means we have room for Count Caldwell in that case, and so what I was going to do was move these light infantry out of the way, make room for Caldwell, play him there, and then with the cards we get from Count Caldwell, might have played them in the melee row, and made that Wagenberg even stronger still. But a missed opportunity in that case, having not done it then. But, let's see. I think with no Wagenberg, there's a chance we get another one with this field medic. Could even get the one back that we just lost. Sure. I think... Let's move these... Let's move at least one out. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Means we only have room for one more card in this melee row. So I think we move 1 light infantry. Because that way, if we play the field medic, we can, at the very least, if we get a Wagenberg, we can still play in the melee row. Well, it may not necessarily be the place where we want to put it if we do get one. That does not have a range limit, I don't think. But more importantly, if we get the Arbalist, we can play that in the melee row and maximize the damage from it. Whereas if the melee row is full, then suddenly the Arbalist is very weak. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, now this works. Let's go this route. Let me just verify. We need these two to be next to each other. So that means we'll play you here.
What do you want of me?
And we get a War Wagon. What do we think about this? I think we have to put it in the range row, right? There's not going to be room otherwise.
Can't take it anymore.
So, it's worth a decent amount of points, but it doesn't really have much in the way of long-term potential other than just setting up Lyrian Horn for a little bit more power. Alright, we do have a pretty sizable lead here, which is good. We'll see if they have any other tricks up their sleeves here. Okay. So our leader ability is back. That means we can damage units that have the same amount of power, and normally that would mean we go for the double 4 power cards. However, we can't break through their armor. Well, breaking through their armor, if we could manage to do so, would be quite nice, seeing as how that does give them the source of their power. Huh. What do we like here? Maybe Caldwell. If we do this, we'd get, what, the drummer, and we get the arbalist. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we do this. Oh, 8? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, if we play Caldwell, this row is full. That means we do need to move the light infantry. Because that way we go... You... Here.
Time I taught you some respect.
And so we need room for the arbalist to go here. And this is going to be 9 damage. So we could remove all the armor there. That would get you down to 3 power card, though, and that's probably not what we want to do, because we might want to keep our options open for our leader ability. To remove you, we could actually... I think we probably want to remove you. So you have some long-term potential, and you have a little bit more in the way of pure power as well. So I think that's good. Let's play you here. We might even run out of room here soon.
Left, right.
And our leader ability, I think we probably do still use it on you. I mean, it's not lowering their score at all. Tell you what, I don't know. Might actually just want to use it on Magnet Division here for pure damage, because otherwise it's just, I don't think we're going to be able to remove the armor on these guys. So that means the damage here is basically insignificant. So I don't love it, because it's not a lot, although, I mean, it does still set up these arbalists with their loyal abilities, so more than anything, that's what does the trick there. That might have been enough to manage to take these guys out. Let's see. Strengthen all copies of this unit in hand, deck, and on the battlefield by 2. They've already played it, so there's nothing we can do to stop them from doing that. Okay, so I think... we are running out of space here. Reynard is one of the last cards we have, and we're going to want to play him and then play Decoy to play him again in all likelihood. The problem with that is that when we play Reynard, we're going to get the Regiment Drummer's order ability back, and we have at least one... just one Regiment Drummer. Okay, I was going to say, because this means we're going to play another card, and we're very quickly running out of space here. Well, we have this Regiment Drummer as well. So we want to make sure we can still fit all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'd be 7. Ability on this would be 8. Ability on this would be 9. That means our rows would be full. We wouldn't have room for Reynard, and that's even before we talk about Reynard resetting those orders so we can use them again. So, yeah, that's what I mean. We are actually going to run out of space. And so, are any other order abilities here? Or are they all deploy abilities? Oh no, there's also an order... I didn't even see this. Command Drummer, I don't think. It's Regiment Drummer. So... yeah. I mean, in some ways, we'd actually like for them to destroy some of our cards. Probably these light infantry would be great, because, otherwise, we're just not going to have room. We're just not going to have room. So, I guess we go with the slightly suboptimal Reynard here, because otherwise, somebody's just not going to be able to get played, and Reynard has at least higher base power than the Regiment Drummer does. So I suppose we go for you.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
So that does, I mean, again, we could have used, like, ideally, we would use all these order abilities first. We'd even play this and use its order ability, but it's just not enough room. Like, we play both of these abilities, and then we're completely out of room, and there's no room for this either. So I think we use one of them, and then we see what our opponent does on their next turn, and if we happen to suddenly have some room to play this next one, then great. If not, then we'll use the other ability. Okay, it's an Arbalist, and we've just enough to go and push it here. I mean, we would love for it to be in the melee row, but again, no room there. And we do have a pretty darn huge lead here. So, even if we run out of space, we should still be in decent shape. Okay, and again, the resilience just really doesn't matter here, fortunately. So I think our strategy in round 1 worked really well for us. I think that was probably the key to our success. And it does seem like this opponent is not nearly as strong as the one that we were fighting previously. And for that, I'm grateful. But let's see. So now we can either use the Regiment Drummer to play a card from our deck, or we can use this Regiment Drummer and just get a 5-power unit out there. So what card would we get from our deck? Potentially the Rivian Pikeman, in which case, not so great in this situation. Lyrian Scytheman, well... Are we going to get our leader ability off cooldown? I guess we're going to get one more round of that. So that means the Scytheman would be worth a little bit more. I suppose we'd rather have a Scytheman than a Regiment Drummer in that case. So let's use this. And we do get a Scytheman. So now we're completely out of room. Can't even play this Regiment Drummer. And we do still need to play another card, though. Because this was just an order ability, not actually a card. So we could also decoy to replay a card. I forgot about this. We were planning on doing that on Reynard, but it's not so relevant when the order abilities we'll be getting back from playing Reynard, those being, the ones for the light infantry are completely useless, but Regiment Drummer ones are as well. So I think instead we might actually look to do even Caldwell's deployability, not so helpful anymore because we don't have room for those. So I think we'd go with the Arbalest in all likelihood. The only thing that would make sense there. And I suppose we could do that now. I guess. Yeah. And then we'll use Lyrian Horn on our next turn, or just throw away Regiment Drummer. I suppose we do this. So then... Oh, well, I guess we'll end up playing it on our next turn, because it'll take one more turn before we can do that. Okay. So we'll play it in the melee row, and it will deal 9 damage. And do we have an obvious target for that? I mean, it's probably these, or it's not quite enough to get rid of you, unfortunately. Because you are about to get boosted. Resilience again, not important, but I suppose either one of these would be reasonable. So let's go for it here. And one thing to bear in mind is all these Lyrian, these Arbalists, they're going to deal damage to the closest enemy whenever we use our leader ability, which will happen on our next turn. So that means if we attack the foot soldiers here, then we could potentially end up destroying them all together, whereas if we hit this guy, the damage from the Arbalest when we use our leader ability will probably still hit these guys and may not destroy this card. So, actually, this card does have some long-term value. If they have other ones in their hand and they play it, then that means that this will gain a little bit more power. Whereas this one, we can't really stop it, so I think we go for this one. And with our next leader ability, we're hoping that we actually destroy these guys. Yeah, especially because they do have another one. But that is going to make it a fair bit more difficult to destroy that in that case. So, let's see, in terms of who we target with this leader ability, they have a couple cards with 6 power. Actually, 3 cards with 6 power. So I'm thinking that is the obvious target in that case. Let's go for that. There's all the damage from our Arbalest, and unfortunately, it's not quite enough to get rid of these foot soldiers. However, I'm thinking that now we go for the Lyrian Horn. And with all these units on our side, they will all get boosted. And we will get rid of those foot soldiers over there. And our last card, well, we can't really play it. We don't have any room for it. But they're all done. So doesn't matter. We will still take the win. And by nearly 100 points at that. So I would say not nearly as powerful as the Nilfgaardians that we played previously. Fortunately for us. Oh, and well, they're dead. So let's just loot the area real quick. Let's see, what is this? Letter found. From Duke Ardal Ep Dehe, Grand Chancellor, Commander of Army Group East, to Colonel Eowyn Var Gwynwyd. Laywyd. Your priority is to capture the capture of Dravograd. Is that the castle we were just in previously? It may be. Seizing this city in the war's first days grants additional clout behind our allies in their negotiations with the Lyrian nobility. You needn't lose peace of mind over Queen Meve. Excuse me? According to our reports, she's just crossed the border with an insufficient military force. Insufficient, you say? You sure about that? She poses you no threat. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Alright, and with that, I believe we have now cleared out everything here, and I think we've looted everything over here. And so for that reason, I think this is probably a good place for us to wrap up here, and well, I was a little nervous after that previous fight, thinking that this one could be equally, potentially even more difficult, but fortunately, maybe it was a little bit more straightforward. Maybe it's just that we played better around this time, but either way, we got the job done. So with that, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.